Whether you've been making music for 10 years or you just started yesterday, this one mental click can 10x the quality of your art and of your music. Now, I want you to understand the quality of your music isn't only to do with the talent you have and the reps you have in the game, but also to do with your belief. Essentially, if you're creating from the identity of someone hoping to make good music, your chances of making music is inherently worse than if you were creating music from an identity of knowing you are creating good music. Now let that digest for a second, and I know it might sound weird, but I was in the same exact shoes as you probably are, right? You want to make good music, and so you hope every time you go to make music that it's going to be a great song. And the crazy part is, I fixed, and you probably have fixed, picking better beats, mixing your vocals better, trying to write better lyrics, getting a better master, using better software, using a better mic. But when it all boils down, your music isn't better. Your art isn't better. And the real problem you're trying to fix with those external changes is an internal problem, an internal root cause of not making good music. And what it is what you assume about yourself and what you assume about what you can create. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the law of assumption to make better music. Not in some fake spiritual way where you pretend your songs are good but you still feel unfulfilled, but in a practical way that actually changes the way you make music, the way you feel about music, and eventually your outcome of your artist. And what it all boils down to is a mental click. A mental decision you make and believe. That's all it is. So stick with me. So once again, this isn't about buying a better mic or buying more software. This is about changing fundamentally who you believe yourself to be and what you believe yourself capable of. And I know a lot of people will say the law of assumption is BS or that this internal work is BS, but stick with me. It's not about pretending, it's about realizing. It's about realizing how interconnected your brain, your nervous system, your confidence, and your creativity and intuition all move as one thing that eventually produce your music. So let me break this down in a super simple manner. If you're assuming that you're not a good enough artist, if you're assuming you're a beginner artist, if you're assuming you're a bad artist, if you're assuming your art isn't good enough and you need to work on it a lot, then typically that leads to creating from tension. However, if you assume that making music is easy and that it's easy to make good music and you're getting better easily and that it's natural for your ideas to be good, then actively you're creating from openness. So if you assume and identify with the identity of I'm an artist that naturally makes good music effortlessly, then your brain and your nervous system and your intuition lead you into saying melodies, saying lyrics, having ideas that align with that self-concept. And now understand we're talking on an emotional level. So having the mental click within that you already are the great artist you're hoping to be, and letting that emotionally resonate through your whole body, and then naturally you'll find more reasons to feel that emotion. So the law of assumption according to music is basically this. Whatever you accept to be true about yourself and your music, you then begin to move as if that is the truth of your world and the limits of your world. So if you assume you're awkward on the mic, you're probably going to be awkward on the mic. If you assume you hate your voice on the mic, you're probably going to hate your voice more on the mic. If you assume making music is hard, stressful, you have some sort of bar and expectation you have to live up to, then that's going to be your experience. So let me use an analogy. Imagine someone assumes they're bad at talking to people. So before they walk into a room, they're tense, they're overthinking what type of things they should say, what type of topics they should bring up in conversation. They overthink, they're tense, they're acting weird, and then the conversation's probably gonna go badly. Not because the wrong words were said, but because emotionally they assumed they were bad at talking to people. And then they used the reality that they then created, so they assumed they were awkward, they created an awkward reality in an awkward conversation, and then going to use that reality, that conversation, as proof that they are an awkward person. And that's exactly what happens with your music. So you sit down to create a song assuming it's probably going to be hard. You're probably going to have to get lucky to make a good song. It's unusual for you to make a good song. And so when lyrics start to sound weird, instead of believing that it's part of the process, a part of the unfolding of your brilliant idea, you then begin to question and emotionally validate the identity and the assumption you had that it was going to be hard and you'd have to be lucky to make a good song. So when the melody doesn't hit, you tense up, you get frightened, you start creating from fear, trying to not lose the song. So you're not creating music anymore, you're creating evidence for the identity that you assumed. So the problem isn't that you make bad music, the problem isn't that you can't make better music. The problem is you keep assuming you're the artist you were yesterday. You keep assuming your level is low. You keep assuming you're not where you want to be. But your current skill level isn't your identity. It's just a reflection of the assumptions you've had in your past and the assumptions you've been creating from. So most artists will wait for a good song to feel like a good artist. Or they'll wait to make a good album to prove that they're a good artist. You see, they're waiting for their music to prove something to them instead of them dictating what the music proves. So it works the other way around. Start assuming the identity. You sit down as the artist you want to be. You write as the artist you want to be. Remember, we're talking about emotionally. This has nothing to do with physical action. This has everything to do with an emotional assumption, an emotional feeling, an emotional truth to know. An emotional truth that you know. Conviction. So when you start to make decisions knowing you're a good artist, and you start to move knowing you're a good artist, and you start to create knowing your ideas are good, then naturally what's going to reflect is art that generates that same exact emotion. Art that generates and proves your identity is truth. So step 1, catch the old assumption. Before making music or while making music, if you feel yourself start to fear things or doubt things, ask yourself this: what am I assuming about myself and about my art right now? Maybe you're assuming it's not good enough. Maybe you're assuming your voice isn't good enough. Maybe you're assuming it's corny, or maybe you're assuming other people won't like it. Step 2, you need to choose a new assumption. You see, where attention goes, energy flows. So if you give your attention and your focus to the old assumption, that's where your energy is going to flow. Now, if you give your attention and your focus to a new assumption, that's where your energy is going to flow. And of course, this takes repetition to actually become a part of your identity and therefore habitualize into your experience. So step 2, after catching the old assumption, choose to create a new assumption. Choose to see that good ideas come through you naturally and easily. And if you're feeling fear, choose to see that emotion as proof of your old identity creating your reality. Simply feel your fear and see it as your old identity. And give the fear a new meaning. You see, when you start to look at fear as proof that you're growing and expanding and becoming a new artist, then it stops holding you captive. So you give fear and your music and your identity a new assumption. And the assumption is that your ideas are good enough, that your natural expression is good enough, and that your music is naturally brilliant. And then step 3 is to create from that newly assumed state for as long as possible. And understand you don't have to fully believe it at first. Just a seed grows a large oak tree. So have a small amount of belief in your new assumption and keep pouring your energy into it, your focus, your attention, and eventually it will sprout into a great tree, a great being. It will sprout into a great tree, a great identity that you hold true about yourself, and it will reflect in the music you make. So stop worshiping the old assumption and see your emotion and your world to be moldable, and assume that your ideas are naturally good, and move as if that's the truth. You see, the conviction you have in your ideas is the only thing giving them life. So we can use visualization as well. So before you go to make your next song, sit in silence for 5 to 10 minutes. And just sit in your mind and imagine making a good song. Imagine feeling the emotion you would have if you made a good song, or if you made a brilliant lyric, or if you made a brilliant hook, or a brilliant riff, whatever it is. Sit inside your mind for 5 to 10 minutes and just assume within visualizing an emotional experience in which you are pleased with the music you made. So now don't obsess over the music you make. Don't obsess over the visualization. Just allow it to unfold naturally. So now I need you to understand that your music doesn't only come from your skill, but it also comes from your state and your assumptions. So stop assuming that making music is a struggle and start assuming that making music is easy for you. And then create from there. So if you want to make better music consistently, from the inside out, without chasing ideas or chasing fleeting emotions, standing as the source of your creation, then subscribe, because this channel is for artists who naturally create great music.